started snowing at about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and Manhattan was getting pretty white. Now, I could have stayed there, but I was on a training program and had an apartment, but I just started dating this unbelievably hot Pan Am stewardess back in Chicago. And, well, you can tell, way out of my league. So I didn't want to take any chance of waiting an entire month for this training program until I got back to see her. So I made a phone call to the airline. They said I could get on an earlier flight. My boss said it was okay, and I headed out. Well, I got there, was able to get on the 4 o'clock flight instead of the 7. We got out of the gate. 4 o'clock turned to 5, which turned to 6, which turned to 7, which turned to 8. But he said, we're taking off. So I was like, yeah, this is going to happen. So I was pretty excited about it. And all of a sudden, we took off, and everyone was in kind of a cool mood about it. Everyone was really kind of upset about being on the plane, but we were getting out of Newark. If you've ever been in Newark, that's a really good thing. Well, we got up in the air, and I'm going to say about 2.5, 3 hours went by when all of a sudden the captain came on and said, listen, there's also a snowstorm in Chicago. We're really backed up. We're just going to have to loop around for about another hour or so, but then we'll be able to land and everything will be fine. Well, about an hour and a half, 2 hours went by before he came back on and said, ladies and gentlemen, we're just a little low on fuel. So we're going to go and we're going to land in Detroit, but we promise you we're just going to get down there, we're going to load up on fuel, de-ice, hop, skip, and a jump right into Chicago. All right, cool. Well, 12 o'clock turns to 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock turns to 2 o'clock, and all of a sudden, the captain gets back on and says, ladies and gentlemen, it is the decision of People Express, and yes, I guess I am aging myself here. It's the decision of People Express that we are not going to go to Chicago. We are going to go back to Newark Airport because there are no gates available in Detroit, we've checked, at 2 o'clock in the morning. And there are no hotels available, and all of the hotels and all of the rental cars are gone. There is really no choice. Well, at this, the grumbling starts, and everybody starts to sit down. And one gentleman was still standing, and he was adjusting his trousers. And it was then that I realized something that that flight attendant girlfriend had said to me. If anyone is standing on a plane, they can't take off. And so I stood up and said, if we all stand up, they can't fly the plane. Please recognize this is in a pre-9/11 situation. Well, with that, about 20 people stand up, and the flight attendants come running back to me. What's going on here? You got to sit down. And I said, listen, I'm on the ground now. I'm a little nervous about it all. I don't want to take off. I want to stay here in Detroit. So with that, they all head up to talk to the captain. Everyone starts grumbling at me when I explain to them what the rules are with airlines. If they take you back to the point of origin, they do not owe you any money. They do not owe you a hotel. And so I said to everybody, you know what it was like. Everyone that was after us has already gotten the hotels. And all of the flights that we were going to be on for 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and everything for Saturday morning, they're already gone. How badly do you want to sit in Newark Airport for a weekend? And with that, another 90 people stood. All of a sudden, all I see coming back down is this bevy of flight attendants pointing at me with this enormous captain following in suit. He comes back to me and he says, son, let me make something straight to you right now. Either you sit back down in your chair or you will be in a Detroit jail tonight. I said to him, well, sir, I guess your way or my way, I'm spending the night in Detroit. You make your phone call. Well, an hour or so passed, and at that point, there were only about 7 people still sitting. Everyone had sided with me against the captain and People Express. And they finally said, we actually found a gate. And it took about a half an hour to get into that gate. But as we got into the gate, we all of a sudden heard that we would be able to get our bags. But there were no flights, there were no rental cars, there were no hotels. As soon as we got into the gate, I went over and called up United Airlines. There were flights available at 6 o'clock, which was only about 3 hours away. I handed the phone off to about other 8 people. I went over to the kiosk, picked up the phone to the hotel. Do you have any rooms? What size do you need? Thank you very much. Picked up Avis. Do you have any cars? What size do you need? Thank you very much. I got to Chicago the next morning to be with the most beautiful woman in the world. Now, that was a long time ago, okay? And this Friday, I kind of remembered that whole situation when I rolled over in bed, kissed that same woman on the cheek, and said, "Happy 27th anniversary."